Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first rendition of the episode of the month. This is a show I'm going to do monthly where I look back at all the television I watch, whether it's streaming or cable or anything like that, and I take my favorite episode that came out that month and I just talk about it for a little bit. I thought this was a fun way to get out there and talk more about some shows I enjoy that maybe don't always get the spotlight, or I don't have the time to really dive into each episode. I thought this could be really fun, so we'll see how it goes. And we're going to be starting with the month of January 2021. New year, new ideas. And I was really excited to talk about this one. I was trying to figure out what is the episode this month that really made me think, really engaged me, really just told a really cool story. And there was a lot of great stuff this month, and I figured I would talk about this one in particular. This is Dickinson, Season 2, Episode 4, The Daisy Follows Soft the Sun. Now, if you aren't watching Dickinson, watch it. It's perfect, it's fun, it's different, it's a very cool and engaging story that takes itself seriously, but lets itself have fun in this different world that not a lot of people would be expecting, and it's very enjoyable. It's Emily Dickinson. It's that story. And this episode in particular focuses on this idea that Emily Dickinson has writer's block. You know, she spent the whole other season, the past couple episodes, dealing with her ability to be published and trying to cope with the idea that maybe people will finally be able to hear her voice. And now that her fate is up in the air as to if she's going to be published or not, she doesn't know if she's able to write again, because what if it's not good enough? That is a very, very realistic portrayal of writer's block. You know, it's like, why keep trying? Why keep going down that rabbit hole if it's gonna lead nowhere? And you want to be this writer and have all this empowering messages to say, but if it doesn't actually work out or have anything important to say, what's the point in even continuing? I really like that a lot. Now, as somebody who's a writer, it kind of had another impact on me in a different way, where I'm like, yeah, I get this. I've been where she is, where it's like you submit something in, you don't know how it's going to be, so do you continue working on that thing? Should you do something else? I like that idea a lot. I think it worked really well in this show. And it's the idea that she's trying to find something that'll help her get inspired. And I like this idea too, because writer's block is kind of an interesting process, especially if you are under a deadline. It's kind of different if you have a deadline, but if you are just like a free thinker who can write whenever they want or should write however they want, you don't really have a specific deadline you need to reach, it's kind of hard to come up with those ideas for the deadline. And like, how do you get that idea to come back to you? And I think that's this show handles a really good way, where it's like you have to be patient with it. Writing isn't just something that you can push out, kind of. You know, it's even not even just writing, but the show even talks about it in terms of just like creativity, because we get a great introduction to another character I hope really returns in this series, and that of course is Timothy Simmons, Veep fame. I love him in Veep, playing the character Frederick Olmsted, and he is like this kind of like designer who goes around building a bunch of like parks for America and stuff. So he comes to their little town there and he's going to design the big park. And it's kind of that idea, like creativity isn't just writing, it's everything around you. You could see this tree and how it could flow better in a certain area, and how all these different things work out together just in terms of how they act and who they are. I think that's a very interesting idea, because creativity is not just one thing, it's anything. What I'm doing now is creativity. Talking to you is creativity. Singing, dancing, everything. It's creativity. And sometimes you just have to let it come to you when the moment happens. You can't force it out if it's not going to come out naturally. And you have to wait for that to happen. And I love that idea that this Frederick guy is able just to tell Emily, like, just take the time to let it inspire you, to let it come back to you, and you'll be the writer you always were. It's not about rushing it because you have to. Sometimes you just have to let it naturally come to you. And I think that's such a cool idea. I really enjoy that aspect of the show, because it's a great show. If you are a writer of any kind and you're struggling to feel like, how do I make myself known or anything like that, sometimes it's just about getting the product out there and the rest will come naturally. Even maybe not in your lifetime, but the rest will come naturally to you. But this episode where you're just stuck thinking, I'm never going to write again because my fate is up in the air, well, sometimes you got to take a step back, get lost in your own head, get lost in your own mind, and just in the own world in general, just in the world at large, and take a moment to realize it's not about being lost, it's not about that, it's about letting things come naturally to you to find your way back to where you were before, both figuratively and metaphorically in terms of what this show did. And I thought that was really fun. Again, Haley Steinfeld crushes it every time she's Emily Dickinson. I love it. Like I said, Timothy Simmons does a great job just being that character, that's kind of weird guy he's very known for, and I thought it was very enjoyable. And this episode isn't just about writer's block. There's a couple of side stories that I find really enjoyable. Of course, Lavinia getting proposed to is hilarious. It's a great side story for this just because she is so coming into her own as this like free-spirited woman who doesn't need to be tied down by society's constraints, and just seeing how she acts in that way, I absolutely love it. Just like I can't say no, I can only say, okay, this is ridiculous, to the guy proposing to her, and the way the whole town reacts when the guy just like, oh, she said okay, but it was like, okay, you gotta just tone it down. Kind of, I thought that was great. And Jane Krakowski, oh, she's great. Another part of this episode, too, is this idea that her character, the mother character to the Dickinsons, is like, I don't know what to do. Like, my husband won't talk to me. I need to find a reason to like connect with him again. And this idea that she's kind of like longing for his touch it's so funny. It's that kind of character that only Jane Krakowski could play, and she plays it perfectly. Absolutely. Just amazing. I love her. She really just adds another layer to the show that I love. I like the way all these stories just intersect and have their little moment to breathe and have fun while still dealing with this like big emotional idea that you gotta let it come naturally. That's what writing is. That is what creativity is. If you force it, it won't happen. Sometimes you have the pressure to do that, but it won't always come out the way you want it to. And I really like that idea. It's such a strong presentation of a show, and I think it was just a really fun one. So this is why it was my favorite episode of the month. I think it's very creative, very smart, very funny, and it has a very positive message that I think it's telling to a lot of young writers, or just even young people in general who want to express themselves in this way. You don't have to force it. Forcing it's going to ruin the product. If you can't think of something in the moment, you take a step back, you get lost in your own mind, and the answers will come to you then. Sometimes you got to step back, see what you are, and realize that the daisy follows soft the sun. And I think that is a really cool thing to see, and I'm very excited to see what other opportunities Dickinson's brings, and what other episodes are going to make it into the episode of the month. So that is our first rendition of episode of the month. I think we'll stick around this time frame for all of them. And of course, if you want to go check out this episode, it is on Apple TV. It is season 2, episode 4 of Dickinson, and it is well worth your time. And thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff. And I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.